Yeah, no, the Facebook is working well. Just waiting for the YouTube link, and we're going to start very, very soon. Apologies once again. Even BINA starts something late once in a while.
Does happen.
Okay.
Can you just WhatsApp to me? And to Levi also.
No, put it on the chat on that stream.
Which chat? Sorry.
The other stream.
Which stream?
The stream for the.
The whole come to me. Okay.
Embarrassing.
Huh?
Embarrassed.
No, it's okay. Not to worry. Things happen.
Okay, yeah, I sent it to you.
Sends me on.
Sent to Levi.
Oh, here we are. New YouTube almost about to be sent out. 1 second.
Put on channel.
Copy. Okay. Broadcast this. 1 second.
Oh.
Here we are. Excellent. We're getting there. 1 second. What was that one? Just. Okay. There we are. Just 2 more. Okay, those are on Facebook. The Facebook link is the same. Just on your YouTube link. Are we live on YouTube yet?
Yeah, live on YouTube.
Okay, we can start then?
Right.
Okay, just give us Okay, sorry about that. Once again, apologies. Time to start. Welcome, everyone.
Part of the whole situation we're in is we have to realize that nothing is in our control.
So we're not in control.
We're in God's control here.
Exactly.
Good evening, everybody. It's great to be with you.
So, welcome. So what we're going to do what we're doing here tonight is good really for every year, but particularly for this year, where this year there will be many people who are going to be leading or perhaps arranging their own Seder for the first time. It's going to be small, much smaller Seders, as we know. Now, I want to give just a bit of an introduction to what we're going to do here tonight. First of all, we need to understand that the Seder is not just a symbolism, it's not symbolic. The Kabbalists tell us that the Seder night is one of the most holiest nights of the year. It is extremely powerful with an extremely deep spiritual energy. And that energy comes with a blessing of freedom, inner freedom, to become free, to go out of our own Egypt, so to speak. Which is accomplished at the Seder through the various mitzvot, through the various things that we do. So even though, and this is really an introduction to what I want to do tonight, because even though this year perhaps the Seders are going to be much less social, and perhaps on one level a little bit lonely for some, but nevertheless it can be very meaningful. Now, just before we start, I want to just, obviously getting ready for Pesach is important as well, and I'm sure everyone understands that we've got to clean for Pesach, prepare all the things for the Seder. Also, I want to mention that it's important to make sure that you fill out a form to sell your chametz, because we're not supposed to own chametz, so we put away the chametz on Pesach and we sell it to a non-Jew, but you can fill out a form and email it to me, and all the various different organizations have that service. And clean the house and get ready and buy all the products that you need for Pesach. Now, a couple of notes how we're going to do this tonight for the Seder. We're going to go step by step through the Seder. I'm going to cover some detail, briefly and clearly hopefully, on some of the mitzvot, some of the rituals that we actually do at the Seder, because, and I guess this is the point we really want to focus on tonight on one level, because the spiritual power of the Seder is accomplished through the mitzvot of the Seder, the things that we do at the Seder, and I'm going to go through those in a minute. And those mitzvot need to be done correctly. It's like wiring a house, it's not a symbolism, you can't just put the red wire and the green wire, is it green? I wouldn't know anyway, it's kind of white anything, but it's got to work, right? The mezuzah has to be kosher for it to work, and so on and so forth. So the mitzvot have to be done correctly, and obviously there's various levels. I'm going to give you the various options of how you do them, but they need to be done correctly in order to tap into the amazing spiritual energy that is there at the Seder. I'm going to also be going through using this Haggadah. That's the Art Scroll Haggadah. It's called the Family Haggadah. If you have it, that's great. If you're not, don't worry. Probably a good idea to take a pen and paper, take some notes. And throughout the night, throughout this hour, we're also going to share some insights. So to make it more meaningful, to make it more understandable, to make it more powerful, and things you can discuss at the Seder. So before we actually start, let me just...
If anyone has any questions, please
yeah.
comment, and we'll be told the questions, and hopefully we'll try and answer them. So please don't hesitate to ask. The Seder is all about asking questions, as we'll see. So let's start tonight.
All about questions.
Start asking questions.
And by the way, myself and Rabbi Levi, we didn't actually rehearse this. I mean, we prepared a little bit, we didn't have to rehearse. So if you see us interrupting each other, we're not being rude. We're just, it's like a Seder. That's what people do in a Seder. So
Exactly.
that's okay. So let me just begin by giving an introduction about the structure of the night, of the Seder night. After all, the word Seder, by the way, means order. Right? Means order. So the structure of the night is divided into three. We've got two mitzvot that we do on the night, which are biblical mitzvot. Absolutely mandatory biblical mitzvot. Those are the two mitzvot of eating matzah. And when I say eating matzah, on Pesach night it needs to be shmura matzah. And we need to eat matzah at least once, a proper measurement of a matzah, which I'll get to a little bit later. And the second biblical mitzvah is telling the story of the Exodus in a way where we try and experience it ourselves, and we look at ourselves as if we are experiencing our own freedom, but the mitzvah is actually to tell the story. Incidentally, whatever we say in the Haggadah during the night of the Seder can be done in English. If your Hebrew is not so crash out, it's fine to do it in English. It doesn't matter. God
In fact,
understands.
probably some of it's better to say in English.
Probably
That's what we're
it's
saying.
better to understand some of it, yes. It's probably even better in English, and so on and so forth. So that's the first part of the Seder, the two biblical mitzvot. Second part of the Seder is the two rabbinic mitzvot. Now when I say rabbinic mitzvot, it doesn't mean we have an option to do them, not to do them. They're as obligatory as the biblical. It's just to give it structure and understanding, context, it's biblical mitzvot. That is, that we eat maror, we eat what we call bitter herbs, which we'll explain in a minute. And also, and by the way, in the time of the temple, that was a biblical mitzvah to be eaten together with a paschal lamb. Today it's a rabbinic mitzvah, and also the mitzvah, which the Talmud says is an incredibly important mitzvah, it's the mitzvah of drinking the 4 cups of wine. When you make kiddush, by the way, that is one of the 4 cups of the wine, but to drink 4 cups of wine, which we'll go through when we talk about kiddush. The third part of the Seder, also important, are the minhagim, the customs. Now, I want to just be very clear, I'm not trying to in any way, God forbid, minimize the customs of the Seder. The customs of the Seder, we are taught by the great Kabbalists, are very holy and very important, and carry with them their own spiritual energy. But I do want to point out, I want us to be very careful at the Seder, that the customs do not override the mitzvot. The mitzvot are the most important. And if for some reason you have to make it quick and you have to make it short, choose the mitzvot over the customs. Not saying the customs aren't important, they are important, and hopefully we can do all of them. I'll just give you an example. I grew up in South Africa. So I know in South Africa particularly, and I think it's a bit in Australia too, but in South Africa...
That's because Australia is South Africa. So.
Yeah, almost, exactly. In South Africa, by the Seder, eating the egg with salt water was like, I don't know, it was like hearing a shofar or Rosh Hashanah or fasting in Yom Kippur almost, right? Now, I'm not saying it's a custom. One should eat the egg and eat it with salt water. That is correct. But it's if one doesn't eat the egg and one is too full, that is fine. Eating matzah, however, is very, very important. I know the egg tastes better, but eating matzah is very important. Or, for example, the Pesach songs. Chad Gadya. Who doesn't know Chad Gadya, right? Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya. Or the other songs that we sing towards the end of the Seder. Very important. Great customs. Some sing them, some don't sing them, whatever the case is. But it's just a custom. Doesn't come close to the actual mitzvot. The actual mitzvot will override that. Okay. We ready to go?
Let's go.
So the first part of the Seder in every Haggadah, and in fact it's page 18 in the Archbishop Haggadah, is preparing the Seder plate. Now, preparing the Seder plate is not just a convenience. Let me explain. I have a little plastic one. You can get a much nicer one. In fact, it's nice to have nice things at the Seder, by the way.
Hold on one day.
Yeah. So this is the Seder plate with the 3 matzahs. Now, the Seder plate, meaning the concoction, the whole combination, just to give you a little insight here, there are 10 things at the Seder plate. We'll go through them in more detail in a second, but essentially the shank bone, the hard-boiled egg, the bitter herbs, the charoset, the vegetable, the karpas, those are 6, and the second bit of herbs which we use for the matzah sandwich, there's 6 things. 3 matzahs, that's 9. And the plate itself is the 10th item. Let me just explain that. So I'll give you a quick Kabbalistic crash course here. So we know that the makeup of the person is we've got 3 levels of intellect, Chochmah, BINA, Da'at. We've got 6 emotions. And then we've got the 10th level is called Malchut. Malchut is the most powerful level that we have in our makeup, our personality. Malchut is called leadership. Why is it called leadership? Because it implements. What Malchut does, it takes all the other faculties of the person, intellectual and emotional, and makes them work, processes them, and makes them work, and makes them actually have an effect, communicates them to the world, to ourselves, to other people, and they put it into practice. So too, the 3 matzot corresponds Kabbalistically to the 3 levels of intellect. The 6 items of the Seder, I'm not going to go through each one now to explain because that's a whole other shiur, but the 6 items correspond to the 6 emotional components of the soul, chesed and gvura and so on. And then the plate, just like any plate, absorbs, receives what you put in it. The plate is the symbolism of absorbing everything, all the other 9 things, and put it into practice. And what happens on Pesach night is we need to experience freedom, but we need to experience freedom on all levels of our personality. Each part of us has to become free, and then we have to put it into practice after Pesach, going forward, which of course is the symbolism of the plate. Okay. Rabbi Levi, you want to tell something about the 3 matzahs?
Actually, just leading on from that, so why do we have 3 matzahs? So the most famous one that everyone knows is it corresponds to either Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, our 3 forefathers, or alternatively the Kohen, the Levi, and the Yisrael. But there's another interpretation of the 3 matzahs, and that is that our behavior is split up into 3. What's called the machshava, a person's thoughts, dibur, a person's speech, and maaseh, a person's actions. And as my followers were saying before, during the Seder, the whole idea is to be fully engaged in a thought level. We need to know what's going on, we need to understand what's going on, we need to speak it, we need to actually ask questions, we need to give insights, and of course the action to eat and to drink and to actually do the mitzvot on a behavioral level. There's also another very interesting reason. It's actually connected to this week's parsha, and that is that in this week's parsha it discusses one of the sacrifices is the korban todah, the sacrifice of thanksgiving, which is brought as a result of one of 4 things happening to you. Either you crossed the desert safely, or you crossed the sea safely, or you got sick and you got better, or alternatively you went out of prison, meaning you put under a life sort of a danger of life and you were freed. And when we went out of Mitzrayim, it was as if we went out of prison. So we have to bring a thanksgiving offering. And if you look in Rashi, in the commentaries in this week's parsha, the way the korban todah was brought, there was actually 3 different types of matzahs brought as part of the sacrifice. There was one part which was chametz, but there was actually 3 different. I'm not exactly sure how you make alternative styles of matzahs, but somehow they managed. So there's 3 different types of matzahs. That's one of the reasons why we have 3 matzahs, to symbolize the thanksgiving offering, because one of the themes of the Seder night, as we'll get there, is the idea of Hallel, the idea of thanking Hashem for all the miracles that He's done for us. That's one of the insights in the 3 matzahs.
Okay, so let's begin. So the first thing now, the Seder plate items need to be prepared obviously before Pesach, on Erev Pesach, but we'll just talk a little bit about them. So the first thing that gets done to prepare the Seder plate, very well. Just imagine this is a whole matzah, please. We put down the 3 matzahs. The custom is to have the 3 matzahs. Now I'm using hand-baked matzahs, and that's a good thing to use by the Seder. If you don't use by the hand-baked matzahs, at least have some hand-baked matzahs to eat, at least for the mitzvah, for the shmura matzah. But the custom is when you put the 3 matzahs, you actually separate them. Now, some big matzah covers come with 3 compartments, so that's good. I'm just doing a primitive way here. We have the 3 matzahs which we separate with 3 different cloths. I'm just doing it a simple way here.
Yaakov, can the matzahs be seen?
Yeah, the matzah.
Yeah.
Right, everyone's got that, so we're putting them down, and we cover them. That's the 3 matzahs. Kohen, Levi, Yisrael.
What's the symbolism of separating them? Why can't we just put them all together?
I guess because each one symbolizes something different.
Okay.
Also, we have the 3 matzahs also correspond to the 3 patriarchs, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Each one was different in his own way, which is interesting because we're doing 4 cups of wine. We'll talk about that later. That corresponds to the 4 matriarchs. So that's really good. Okay. And then we put the 6 items on the matzah, on the actual Seder plate. The first item that we place on the Seder plate. Oh, do this was?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's true. The first item we do on the Seder plate, we put the shank bone. What's called the zroa.
We're in the Haggadah, by the way, on page 18, in the Art Scroll Family Haggadah, if you want to see how to set up the Seder plate.
So the zroa, the bone, is to remember the Paschal lamb, the Korban Pesach, It used to be brought on the day on the Erev Pesach and eaten or roasted, eaten on the Seder night. Now, there's different customs how to do this. Some people use a chicken neck, some people use a chicken wing, some people use a shank bone. Whatever the case is, that piece of meat should be with a bone. It should be roasted on Erev Pesach, of course, and then placed on the Seder plate. I don't have one with me now, so just suffice for the picture. But we have the shank bone over there. That's on the right-hand side. Also, the word Zeroah means arm, and there's a symbolism that God redeemed us with an outstretched arm. Before we continue, I just want to remind everyone that please feel free to ask questions, and every so often I'm going to stop and get the questions, and we'll try and answer them. The second item that goes on the Seder plate, on the left top left that is the egg, hard-boiled egg. That gets placed on the Seder plate. The hard-boiled egg, actually, a number of symbolisms, but the hard-boiled egg actually is to remember another sacrifice that used to be brought on Pesach, called the Chagiga, which was a festival sacrifice. Because what used to actually happen at the Seder night is they used to eat the meal and then have the Korban Pesach, the Paschal lamb, at the end. Because the Paschal lamb had to be eaten like dessert, like we eat afikoman, right? So, the egg is there just to remind that. Why an egg? There's many reasons. I'll give you a quick insight. One of the reasons of an egg is that an egg is the only food that the more you cook it, the harder it gets, the stronger it gets, not the softer it gets. Symbolic of the Jewish people, that even though we've gone through so much, the more we go through, the stronger we become, the more resilient we become, and that's part of the destiny and the continuation of the Jewish people. Okay, then the middle, just underneath those two things. So we've got the shank bone, the zrah, we've got the egg. The middle we put the maror. Now, the way we do this is, I must tell you about this, when we do the mitzvah of the bitter herbs, there's a few things you can use. We can use horseradish, we can use lettuce, but actually it should be, if possible, cos lettuce. If you can't find cos lettuce, regular lettuce is also good, or a combination of both, which is also fine. So I'm just using lettuce for tonight. One should check the lettuce to make sure there's no bugs in it, and that gets placed in the middle of the Seder plate. Then comes the charoset.
You want to do the mount now? Or we'll do that?
Sorry? No, we'll do the mount later. We'll do one here. So, now, the charoset, I don't have the whole ingredients here, but I have apples here, a bit of chopped apples. So just to explain, the charoset is something that we dip the maror in. Charoset the recipe is varies from custom to custom, but basically, in the Ashkenazi world at least, it is grated apples, where you can put it in the food processor, pears, nuts, walnuts, maybe almonds, according to some people. And then normally on Erev Pesach, according to most customs, are we okay, Yaakov? We add wine. Some people do it at the Seder actually, but some people do it on Erev Pesach. Mix it up because it should be like the cement which was used in Egypt to enslave the Jewish people. And that gets put on the right hand, the lower right hand of the Seder plate.
Could you play it?
Like this?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, is that better? Okay, well, I'll just hold it up for now and later I'll put it down. Now, then comes the karpas over here. The karpas is the vegetable. We can see it? Okay. Karpas is a vegetable. It can be any vegetable. The only criteria for karpas is it shouldn't be lettuce, but should be a vegetable upon which the blessing borei pri ha'adama is made. So a lot of people use a cooked potato, and that goes on the left.
Some people use parsley or onion.
Parsley, some use onion, yeah. Some people don't like onion, but so yeah, cooked potato is fine, or parsley or anything, but it should be a vegetable. And that goes on the lower left. And then finally the lower middle part, we again put a bit of herbs. Some people just put lettuce this time, or horseradish, but it can be again the same lettuce, or just a second time. It's the second maror, right? I think we've covered everything for the Seder plate. Okay, are we good, Yaakov? All right, so that's the Seder plate. Now, if you look on page 19, you'll see a famous song, Kadesh Urachatz. Now, I said before, Seder means order, right? So it's a very organized structure. So before we start the Seder, we are given a structure of how to go through the Seder. It's 15 steps. Famous song, Kadesh Urachatz, and so on. What's interesting about Kadesh Rachatz is that it's not just like a random sort of siman that is given to us. It actually has deep significance. I'll just give you two quick ideas. One is that there's 15 steps. 15 is Yud and Hey. Yud and Hey is God's name, to show us that when we go through the Seder, God's name is embedded in the Seder. Any other insights, Rabbi Levi?
The number 15, specifically?
No, just generally about Kadesh Rachatz.
Not on top of my head right now. We'll definitely get to soon.
I'll just share with you one thing I saw. It's interesting. The word Kadesh means to make Kiddush, or Rachatz means to wash your hands, which symbolizes the power of the Seder. Why is that? Because normally, if you want to become holy, you need to first let go of unholiness. So the normal order of growth is you let go of impurity, you let go of negativity, and then you sanctify yourself with holiness or spirituality or positivity. The Seder night is so powerful that even if someone hasn't let go of negativity, he can jump right into the holiness. Which is why we say Kadesh and then Urachatz. We make Kiddush, we sanctify ourselves, then we wash our hands. Washing hands is symbolism of letting go of dirt, letting go of impurity. I mean, washing hands is a very common thing nowadays. But I'm talking about the spiritual washing hands.
I saw the joke going around, and nowadays there's going to be urchatz between every step of the Seder.
Yeah, you can do urchatz all the time. That's right, exactly. I'm not talking about sanitizer. This is urchatz with water, symbolizing the letting go of the impurity, but that comes after Kadesh. So we'll go through each stage.
Can you use sanitizer during the Seder?
Good question. The question was, can we use sanitizer during the Seder? First of all, just check with your local authority. Sanitizer is kosher for Pesach. There is issues with alcohol in sanitizer. Check with the local kosher authority. Liquid soap, kosher Pesach, is probably even a better idea. It's just hard to do that all the time through the Seder. I know that some rabbis are saying that it's okay to use sanitizer, but not then to directly touch food. It should be a bit of a break, so just check with your local Orthodox rabbi. But thanks for the question. Okay, now, we're coming to Kiddush. First step of the Seder. First step of the Seder is Kiddush. Now, I'm going to stop here and explain, because Kiddush is actually part of the 4 cups of wine. So on the Seder night, different to every Shabbat and festival, Kiddush, one person can make Kiddush like every Chag, but everyone needs to have a cup of wine. So I'm going to now just stop and pause and explain the laws of the 4 cups of wine. So on Pesach, there's a mitzvah, a very important mitzvah, to drink 4 cups of wine, Kiddush being one of them. And the way it's done is the following. First of all, what do you use for it? So it could be wine. Some people prefer to use actual wine. Some what they do is they mix a bit of wine and grape juice. Others, what they do, just use grape juice. It's also okay if one cannot drink. If one can handle wine, a bit of wine is better. If not, grape juice is better. Now, when it comes to the 4 cups of wine, there's a certain amount we have to drink. So here comes a very important thing. Any cup you use must be full. So be wise and plan ahead and use small cups, because otherwise, when the time it gets to the 3rd cup and the 4th cup, I've often had this throughout the years with guests, they just can't do it anymore. So plan ahead. The way you plan ahead is to take a small cup. The cup has to have a minimum size of 90 mil. So let's say 90 mil is the minimum size of the cup. This is a pretty small cup. Where do you get this from? It's a good
It was
cup.
bought for me. I don't think I got it.
This is a good Pesach one. I don't know how many mils it is, but it's more than...
It's more than 100.
It's about 100 or 120, but it's a small cup, but gets cups, because the halakha is, the Jewish law is that when you fill up the cups of the 4 cups of wine, it should be full, right? Full means at least it needs to look full. Some have a custom of overflowing it. Not critical, but you do need to fill it up, so we fill up the first cup of wine. Now, when we drink the wine, see that? It's full. I don't know if you can see it at the camera, but it's full, right? When we drink the wine, so you need to have a cup of 90 mil. It needs to be full. Any cup you have has to be full. That's why it's good to take a small cup. And then you need to drink a bit each time. When you drink the 4 cups of wine, you need to drink a bit more than half. What's half of 90? 45? About 46, 47 mil. Just a bit more than half. So don't drink a lot, because it's hard to drink, especially if you're having wine. Some people like to drink the whole thing, but halachically the minimum is requirement, a bit more than half. So take a cup. It could be a glass. It doesn't have to be a Kiddush cup. It could be a glass. It could be a cup. It could be they make these disposable cups now. Also okay. Also acceptable. Sometimes you can get them just for smaller ones. It shouldn't be too small. It should be 90 mil. And then you drink, each time you drink a bit more than half. When you make Kiddush, so that's on page 20, we make Kiddush. One person can make Kiddush on behalf of everyone, just like every Friday night, that's fine. If Hebrew is a big problem, it can be done in English, like everything else. But make the Kiddush, say the words of the Kiddush. If you're looking at the article Haggadah, we don't say the first paragraph, which is Yom HaShishi, that's only for Shabbat. We start with the bracha on the wine, and then go into the bracha of Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Am. Continue on to page 22, where we don't say the pink box, because that's for Havdalah when it's Saturday night, but we just end with Shechiyanu. Okay? If a woman is making Kiddush, because there's no man by the Seder, and she's already lit candles and said Shechiyanu, then she omits the Shechiyanu by the Kiddush. When Kiddush is over, we drink the first cup of wine. Now, the halacha is, and this I'm not going to go into the whole complexity of it, but basically the halacha is that especially men need to lean when they drink the 4 cups of wine. And leaning means not just to lean in the air. Some people lean on cushions. You need to lean on something. So for example, this structure right now has a little table, so I could take the cup of wine and just lean a little bit on the table and then drink 4 cups of wine. It can be on the arm of a chair, an armchair, it could be the back of someone else's chair.
In most years it could be on someone else, just this year probably wouldn't be
this year, not a good idea to lean on anyone else. Please
in fact, the Talmud actually says a story about rabbis leaning on each other's knees because there was no...
Because they were poor and they didn't have space, yeah. So not a good idea, so yeah, just lean on something, but it should be drunk when it's leaning, when the person is leaning, and again, drink a bit more than half the cup each time the 4 cups of wine are drunk.
So to summarize, the cup has to be minimum 90 mil, and you need to drink
should be full,
more than 51%.
Right, and drink 51, bit more than half the cup each time. Could be preferably wine or grape juice, or just grape juice, all good. If someone has a real health problem, of course, consult your rabbi, because there are different ways you can do it. For example, just to give you one idea, sometimes if you drink dry red wine, which is better for people who suffer with sugar issues, you can even dilute it to a certain amount, so just check with water, so check with your rabbi how to do that. But that's the basic idea. That's the first step of the Seder Kadesh. So the Seder table is on the table, the Seder plate, the matzah's on the table, the Seder, all the things on the Seder plate. You make Kiddush and you drink the first cup of wine.
Just to share with you something interesting.
Please.
That the Sfas Emes says, the great Sfas Emes, he says that the 4, sort of banking on the theme we were saying before, the 4 cups of wine represent the 4 different types of abilities that a person has in their head. And a person can see, a person can hear, a person could see, and a person could smell. And again, the same idea, to involve your entire being in the experience of going out of Egypt.
Very, very beautiful. Very beautiful. Also, I think you mentioned before about the 4 people that have to thank God.
Yeah.
Going out of prison, becoming better, going through a desert, and going through a sea. All these things happen in Egypt. We went out of prison. Egypt was a prison. We went through the sea. We were all healed at Mount Sinai, and we crossed the Red Sea. So that's why we thank God with the 4 cups of wine. Another idea. Okay. On to the next one. Urchatz. Urchatz means we're going to wash our hands. Now we wash our hands twice on Seder night. Now there's different customs with this washing hands. Some just do it. Now let me just explain what the origin of this is. Urchatz comes because we're about to eat a vegetable. Oh, we didn't prepare salt water, okay. We're about to eat a vegetable dipped in salt water. In ancient times there was a whole issue with purity and impurity, and whenever a person would eat a vegetable or fruit or anything dipped in water, they would wash their hands first like we do before bread. Many people don't do that nowadays, some do. On the Seder night we have this step. In some families only the person leading the Seder washes. In other families everyone washes. Part of the reason why we all wash tonight, even though many people eat vegetables that are wet without washing nowadays, is because we do things different on Seder night. Big theme of the Seder, by the way. We do things different to arouse curiosity, because the whole thing of the Seder is to ask questions, which, by the way, don't forget to ask questions. I don't know if anyone has yet, but we ask questions, therefore we do things that are different that we don't necessarily do throughout the year. So we wash our hands. However, very important, we wash our hands without making the bracha. Normally we wash our hands for bread, we make a bracha. Tonight we wash our hands without a bracha. Following on, we're going to move on because we don't want to, I know the Seder takes a few hours, we're not going to take a few hours tonight. And we go to karpas. What does karpas actually mean?
It's a good question. There's a few interpretations about the word karpas.
Yeah, I think in the Talmud times apparently there was a vegetable called karpas. Anyways, it's a vegetable. Why do we eat a vegetable now? Why do we eat a vegetable? No reason. Why do we eat a vegetable? So it should look strange. Normally when you make Kiddush on a Friday night or a festival, you wash and eat bread. Or on Pesach, eat matzah. Pesach night we do something different so that the child should ask a question, what are you doing? arousing curiosity, because tonight we ask questions. So therefore, that's why we eat a vegetable now, really. We eat a vegetable because it's different. I mean, there are different symbolisms. I once saw an idea that the vegetable grows from the ground, showing that on the Seder night, even if we're deep on the ground and we're low and we perhaps down, we can lift ourselves up, we can become prominent, we can be spiritually strong, but essentially we eat a vegetable just to make a difference. Now, just a very, very important idea. I know at this point of the Seder,
Everyone's very hungry.
everybody hungry.
By the way, there's a way to get around that. You could just eat before.
You could eat before.
Well, they're not supposed to eat so much. You should.
I always tell people not to come to the Seder hungry, because I once had a story at my Seder table. I'll just stop making things a bit lighter. We went to wash for karpas. There was a couple, and at my Seder we normally take quite a long time till we get to the meal, because we like to do a lot of explanations. And it was the first night Pesach, and we had this couple, and I overheard the wife turning to the husband and whispering to him, "I'm starving." I thought to myself, "Oy gewalt, what am I going to do with this person? It's going to be quite a while till we eat." Now the reason I say that is because you can't fill yourself up with this potato. The halacha, the law is, and for reasons which I'm not going to go into now because it's quite complex, but the idea is that each person gets a small piece of potato or vegetable, whatever it is. You put bowls of salt water around the table, you dip 3 times in the salt water, and everyone together we make the blessing, as you can see on the bottom of page 22, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, borei pri ha'adama. When you make that blessing, we have in mind that the blessing should also cover the bitter herbs that we're going to eat. Even though the bitter herbs we eat is in the middle of the meal, but it's not really considered part of the meal, and it's questionable if it needs its own blessing. So what we do is when we eat the karpas, we cover the bitter herbs as well. So that's how we do it. We dip 3 times in salt water, and we eat the karpas, and we make borei pri ha'adama. Okay. I'm going to move the Seder plate now.
It's an interesting insight into
please.
karpas. The Al-Shich explains that the idea of the Seder is really a process of growth, of going out of our own sort of spiritual Egypt, own spiritual limitations. And as you mentioned, Kadesh means to sanctify yourself, Urchatz means to get rid of all the negative things, and the next thing we do is we eat a vegetable. And the idea is that we're trying to show that if you want to become a spiritual person, you need to be able to live simply. In other words, you have to be ready to not overindulge. Overindulging in materialism is usually not a good...
Yeah.
It doesn't go hand in hand with spiritual growth.
I think that's very relevant now, because I think now we need our expectations are not being met exactly now, and we're keeping things simple. Weddings are simple, everything's simple now.
Yeah.
Because of what we're going through. The next part of the Seder, is number 4.
Yeah.
And that's Yachatz. Yachatz is we break the middle matzah. Now, this is an interesting thing. I'm going to just take this over here. So what we do is we break the middle matzah, put the smaller piece back, and the bigger piece should be wrapped in something. Ooh.
It's also part of the Seder, let's make a mess.
Yeah. Now, this is going to be eaten later by the afikoman. What do we do with this? We wrap it.
So the smaller piece is put back into the Seder plate, in case you can see that.
Yeah. And
The bigger piece we wrap.
I'm just using napkins, but some people have a nice little thing to wrap it in. So you wrap it up, and what do you do with it?
Is there a symbolism in it being wrapped? Is there a reason for that?
I believe so. So the wrapping is because it says when the Jews left Egypt, they left with their sacks, their food which was wrapped up. Right? Wrapped up on their back. What's the word in Hebrew? It's surot, I think, right?
Yeah.
It was all wrapped up. Now, in many households, what happens now is that the children come and they hide it, and then you've got to buy it back, bribe yourself all the way through getting it back. Later, when it comes to eat afikoman, some people just hide it anyway. Now, I'll tell you a beautiful idea. See, later we're going to eat the afikoman. That's the very holy piece of the matzah. The matzah in the Zohar is called bread of faith. It instills faith in us, and it strengthens our emunah, our faith in God. What's fascinating is, some people, what they do is, they put the afikoman, this is our custom, put the afikoman between 2 cushions. Why between 2 cushions? Look, what's the Hebrew word for cushion in Hebrew? Kar. Exactly, kar. Kar has a numerical value of 220. 2 cushions is 440. The matzah represents the aleph, the one, the emunah, the faith in the one God. 441 has the gematria numerical value of the word emet, truth. The truth of the Jew, the truth of the faith. It says in the merit of emunah, the Jews left Egypt because they had strong faith in God, right? The idea of hiding it, wrapping it up, also has another symbolism that it's later on when we come to the Afrikaans, it's called safun, it's hidden. Because on Pesach we're able to access the hidden faith that is sometimes buried or sometimes a bit hidden within every single Jew. And that's the power of the Seder, to bring out that safun. So we hide the matzah to show that we're going to go to the very deepest levels of our soul, even the part that's very, very hidden. So I don't have two cushions, but I'm going to leave it here for the time being.
It's also an interesting reason why we put back the smaller piece and leave the bigger piece hidden, and the smaller piece is still on the Seder plate, sort of revealed, because we actually uncover the matzahs as we'll soon see. The idea is that a person, a little bit of what they do should be displayed to the public. In other words, a person shouldn't think that you're a bad person. So you should do good things that people can see. But most of the good things that you do, the bigger half should actually be hidden. The idea of hatzne leches, the idea of being modest.
Very, very nice. Very nice. Okay, we move on to the next part of the Seder. Now, next part of the Seder is called Magid. That's on page 24.
This is where you get comfortable.
Yeah, so I fast the seatbelts, get comfortable, and we go for it. Now, Magid has a bunch of different components to it. I'm going to point out the most important parts. I mean, when I say most important, it's all important, but the critical parts to fulfill the mitzvah. The first part actually is an introductory paragraph. It's not critical, meaning it's not critical to the mitzvah, but it's a famous introduction. At this point, what we do, some people actually lift up the broken piece of matzah, like this. Some people just uncover it, so it's uncovered. And they say the halach ma'anya, we talk about the bread of affliction, which our forefathers ate in Egypt. And we also acknowledge in this paragraph something very important. We invite guests. I guess this year is a bit more spiritual, in a spiritual way, we're not actually inviting guests so much. We're being careful, but at least we're showing our commitment to generosity. And also we proclaim that our Seder, as beautiful as it is still incomplete because we don't have a temple. And the redemption hasn't come. So we say in this part that we are here now, but next year we're going to be free and we're going to be in the land of Israel. And that's the introduction to the Seder. When we finish the introductory paragraph, halach ma'anya, we cover the matzahs again. And in fact, what we do at that point is we move away the matzahs just a little, move away the whole Seder plate a little bit. The reason for that is because, again, to arouse curiosity, then, the children or the guests might think that's it, like the meals.
In ancient times, it would be like on a little table. The
take it away,
would actually take away the whole table. Nowadays, that would be a little bit.
Yeah. And it's to give the impression that, the meal's over, you just give me a small piece of potato and that's it. Again, to arouse questions. At this point, what we do is we fill up the second cup of wine. And we start the Haggadah. We start the mitzvah of telling the story. But on Pesach, that mitzvah of telling the story has to be done in response to a question. Which is why we start the story with the Manishtan.
Just to interrupt you again, the reason why we pour the second cup now, it's a very important thing for people to understand. The mitzvah of drinking 4 cups of wine is not just to drink 4 cups of wine one after another. That you actually wouldn't fulfill the mitzvah. 4 cups of wine actually you do things over them. So the first one you do kiddush over it, and this one we tell the story of going out of Egypt over this cup of wine.
Exactly.
So it's actually critical to pour the second cup of wine now, so you can say over it the story.
Exactly. So you say the exactly. So the mitzvah of telling the story of Egypt must be in response to a question. Very important, and I want to emphasize this year: not just children to ask questions. Someone must ask a question, and that's what the Talmud says. And sadly, this year it might be very relevant. When I say sadly, I mean the Seder is not a sad thing, and hopefully it'll be a meaningful experience. But I say sadly because many older people will not have their grandchildren, or parents might not have their children next to the Seder. Therefore, someone must ask the question, and the Talmud says that a child must ask the question of Manishtana. If there's no child, then if just a couple, for example, or 2 people, then one must ask the other. If there's only one person by the Seder, even the Talmud says, such a scenario, which maybe sadly might even happen this year, then they should ask themselves the question, right?
Why is it so important, the question? What's the idea behind that?
Yeah, it's a very good point. Very, very good point. Do you have an answer?
No, I'm asking the question.
Son's asking the question.
That's right.
So I saw once a beautiful thing, I just saw it again this year actually. The idea of asking a question, and this also explains why even if you're sitting alone by the Seder, you have to ask yourself the question. Because it must be in response to a question. What is a question? A question means I'm not perfect. A question means I don't know it all. A question means that even though you told me the story last year, I can understand the story on a deeper level. Because the whole idea of Pesach is going out of Mitzrayim, it's going out of Egypt. Going out of Egypt is relative, meaning going out of Egypt means going beyond my comfort zone, freeing myself from myself. But when I take the next step and I do something a bit beyond my comfort zone, after a while that becomes my new comfort zone. So my Exodus today becomes the Mitzrayim of tomorrow, the Egypt of tomorrow. And that's why Yetziat Mitzrayim means that every Pesach we have to renew our growth. And that's why we ask a question. The question means there's still stuff I don't understand. You explained it to me so well last year, but there's still stuff I don't understand because there's room to grow. I think that's a very beautiful idea. That's why even within the person, there's a question. In other words, the question is, I have to be humble enough to know that I don't know, even if I'm by myself, I have to research more. So I have to ask myself the question so that I can grow even more. Right? So the question is asked, 4 questions. Child asks the question. In some families, all the children ask the question. In some families, there's a custom for everyone afterwards to say, you can sing it together, whatever the case is. Different songs, sometimes takes a while, but the question is asked. Once the question is asked, we then move back the matzahs, or the plate on the matzahs, depending on the custom, and then we uncover the matzahs. Why do we uncover the matzahs? Make sure also the middle matzah is uncovered, right? So that's what we call a poor man's bread. Important to have that. The matzahs is uncovered so that we tell the story of going out of Egypt not only on the wine but also on the matzahs. We have the matzah in front of us, it's revealed, everyone can see that it's connected to the matzah, it's experiential, and we're telling the story, and we begin with the story. Now the Haggadah starts on page 26.
Just in case you join us now, we're using the Art Scroll Family Haggadah, and we're on page 26 at the moment.
So, the answer to the question begins in the middle of the page, Avadim Hayinu. So I would say, again, obviously it's good to say the whole Haggadah, but if you really can't, this is a critical paragraph. So make a note of this. Avadim Hayinu, because that's the story in a nutshell. We were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt and God took us out. That says it all. That is the answer.
Yeah.
I have to just say with you a beautiful thing. When I grew up, I always loved this moment of the Seder. We have a custom that before we start Avadim Hayinu, we say a Yiddish sentence, we proclaim. We say the teretz is, which means the answer is, remembering, and this is the answer to the question, right? Avadim Hayinu. Now, very good to sing as we go along, sing Avadim Hayinu, of course, a famous story. Now, okay. Avadim Hayinu begins the story. We'll come to a couple of insights in a moment. Then the next few pages are beautiful, but again, if you're going to leave out some, this is the part to start leaving out. So it's the story of the rabbis in Bnei Brak who told the story the whole night. It's about the fact that we're supposed to mention going out of Egypt by time every day. The 4 sons are mentioned here. The fact that God kept up His promise and He redeemed us and so on and so forth. Until we get to page 30. Have a look at page 30. The bottom paragraph, it's a critical paragraph. Everyone says this and everyone knows the song, so it's important to say. Vehi she'amda. At this point, what we do is we cover the matzahs, because whenever we pick up the wine, we cover the matzahs. We pick up the cup of wine and we recite Vehi she'amda. Vehi she'amda. Should we just take a break and sing it a little bit together? Come on, let's go.
Vehi she'amda, vehi she'amda, lava yiseinu v'lanu. Vehi she'amda, she'amda, lava yiseinu v'lanu. Shela yechad bilvado, madaleinu l'chalo yiseinu. Shela yechad bilvado, madaleinu l'chalo yiseinu. Ella shevachol levadai, roimdim aleinu l'chalo yiseinu. Ella shevachol levadai, roimdim aleinu l'chalo yiseinu. Ve'yakodosh baruch hu matzileinu miyodam. Ve'yakodosh baruch hu matzileinu miyodam.
So what we essentially saying in this paragraph is that this, God's promise, is what kept us going throughout the generations, because it's not only the time of Egypt. Every generation, they try to get us, whether it's spiritually, physically, persecution or spiritual persecution, assimilation, whatever the challenge is, but God helps us save it. So what protects us? The He, The he literally means the promise of God. But because it's BINA, this is a BINA event, I'm going to give a BINA commercial here. Can we give a BINA commercial?
For sure.
The commentaries say the word Vahi. Look at it. It says Vav, Hey, Yud, Aleph. Vav is 6. Represents the six orders of the Mishnah, which is the basis of the Talmud. In other words, learning. Hey is the 5 books of Moses, the 5 Chumashim. Yud 10 is the 10 Commandments, and Aleph, the 1, is the belief in one God. Belief in God and learning Torah, studying Jewish education, both for children and adults, that's the commercial part, has stood us in good stead throughout generations. Anything to add?
No, that's great. I think, let me just sort of something to think about when you say this paragraph this year, particularly, although the paragraph is actually talking about really anti-Semitism, meaning people who want to persecute us and annihilate us, and that's unfortunately relevant this year as well, as we saw in the sort of the past few months. I think just in general, sort of more of a it's like poetic license, to adapt the idea. Anytime we go through a challenge, we are going to get through it. I think this year, especially when we're all in the middle of a challenge, it's not necessarily a Jewish challenge, but it's just a general challenge. Hashem is going to help us through. At the end of the day, it's hard, it's difficult, but just to think about that, we're going to get through it, and we're going to be stronger on the other side.
We're in God's hands, and He's going to take care of it.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay. Now I'm going to start moving a little bit because I don't want to say it too late. But from page 32 until the bottom of page 36, essentially is a bit of detail of the story. Lots of verses. Basically goes through the details of the story. If you could say it good, if you don't happen to say it, you still fulfill the mitzvah with some other critical parts. So I did point out a critical part in the beginning, the one right after Manishtana. The Hisha Amda is always said. Next few pages, try to say them, Hebrew, English, whatever, all good. One important part, of course, is the 10 plagues. So on page 38, we do say the 10 plagues. The custom is to pour out a bit of wine each time we say the 10 plagues. Some will do with their finger, some will just pour it out into a dish. We get rid of that wine afterwards, but then we refill the cup. Right? I forgot to say that we uncover the matzahs after the Hisha Amda, and we do the 10 plagues, we pour out a bit of wine, but then we fill up the cup again so it remains full.
And then of course we have Dayenu.
Dayenu is very famous, of course, page 40. You can sing it. It's basically going through all the things that we thank God for, the 15 things, all the amazing miracles He did for us, and we say Dayenu. Now, a critical part of the Haggadah is page 42, and this should be said even if you don't manage to say the whole Haggadah. And that's from the word Rabban Gamliel. Rabban Gamliel says that there are 3 things we have to explain on Pesach night. Pesach, Matzah, and Maror. Pesach, the Paschal lamb, and we explain it, that's the next paragraph. Then we explain why we eat Matzah, and then we explain why we eat Maror. Matzah essentially is remembering the freedom, Maror is essentially remembering the bitter times, we have to do both, and that's a very important part of the Seder that should be said. Followed by a critical sentence, middle of page 44, last paragraph, that B'chol Dor Vador, in every single generation, we have to see ourselves as if we are going out of Egypt. This is not history, it's we experiencing personal freedom. Now, this actually ends the mitzvah of telling the story. The next part is Hallel. On Pesach night, we praise God by saying Hallel. Now, we say Hallel on festivals, we do different times, but on Pesach night, we do it at the Seder. What we do is, we actually say part of Hallel before the meal, and part of Hallel after the meal. So what we do now is we cover the matzahs, and we say the first 2 paragraphs of Hallel, which is on page 46, Hallelujah and B'tzet Israel. You can sing them, you can say them. And then we pick up the cup, and at the bottom of page 46, we make the final blessing of the Haggadah, which is Asher Ga'alanu, which goes on to page 48, Baruch Atah Hashem Ga'al Yisrael. At that point, everyone picks up their cup, or should be holding the cup already, and says the blessing on the wine, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Olam, Borei Pri Hagafen, and then again you drink more than half of the cup, men lean on something, and that's fulfilling the mitzvah of the second cup of wine. I think we have a question here or something.
Someone asked again, why 90 mil?
Oh, thank you. That was a good question. Someone that wants to know why 90 mil. 90 mil is because we have certain measurements in Jewish law, measurements for volume, measurements for liquid. And whenever the Torah tells us to do a mitzvah to do with food, you have to do the minimum measurement. Now, the measurement of what we have to drink in a cup, what's considered a cup, a prominent cup of beverage, wine, this applies to Friday night, Kiddush and so on, is called a Revi'it. Revi'it means a quarter. A quarter of what? A quarter of a lug. A lug was a Talmudic biblical measurement of volume. So Revi'it lug, a quarter of a lug, different opinions of how much it actually is, but the minimum measurement is about, let's say 87 mil, but just to be careful, 90 mil is the minimum measurement of Revi'it. Some people go for 100 mil, some people go for 130 mil, whatever, but you keep it to a minimum, just make sure you get through it, and that's the thank you for that question.
Anyone else has any questions, please feel free to ask.
Okay.
Rachza.
Rachza. Now we go wash our hands. Everyone should wash their hands at this point, because now we're washing hands for bread, and we go and we eat, we do wash our hands, and then we're going to fulfill the mitzvah of matzah. Yeah, another question.
Another question. Why is Hallel split up?
Oh, very, very good question. The Gemara discusses it. So there's two reasons. I'll just offer two. Huh?
Yeah.
One reason is, sorry, what did you say, children?
One reason is that we should
repeat the question again.
The question was, why is Hallel split up? Why is part of Hallel before the meal and part of Hallel after the meal?
So one reason is that that really we should say the whole Hallel right even before the meal. It's just that we want the children to be awake when we eat the matzah. So that's why we actually split it, and we say the two first paragraphs which openly discuss the exodus from Egypt. There's actually a dispute in the Talmud. You need to say the first paragraph, the first two. We rule the act actually say the first two.
So that's one reason. Another two reasons quickly is because the exodus of Egypt actually took place in two parts. One part was midnight, when there was the plague of the firstborn. That's when the Jews became defined as free people, but actually only geographically left the next day. So two parts of the Exodus. And also, Kabbalistically, the first part of Hallel refers to the Exodus from Egypt, which is explicitly discussed. The second part of Hallel, which we say after the meal, actually is a Hallel in anticipation for the future redemption through Mashiach. And that's one of the reasons. But thanks for the question, that's a great question. So, we wash our hands, rachza, and then we now about to do...
And we make a bracha this time.
Make a bracha, of course, this time, exactly.
Yeah.
And then we eat matzah. Now, here we have to pause a little bit, because as I said before, this is a critical part of the Seder. Don't miss this out. It takes only a few minutes, and it's one of the most powerful mitzvahs. And that is a mitzvah to eat matzah. Now, by the way, everyone has to have a piece of matzah. It does not have to come from the Seder plate, because not always the Seder plate has enough matzah to go around, right? In my family, only people who have the Seder plate in front of them eat the Seder plate matzah. Everyone else gets a piece of matzah just from the box, and that's perfectly okay, and that's where it should be done. Now, I want to explain the mitzvah of matzah. So we're going to make two blessings when we wash. One is going to be hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We hold all three matzahs when we do that, the one leading the Seder. And then we drop the bottom matzah and we make the bracha on the matzah, which is, as you can see, on page 50, top page 50. Asher kidishanim mitzvah tzivanu ala chilat matzah.
So I'm just repeat that. So you hold all three when you make hamotzi,
and then
you drop the bottom and only hold the top two when you make the bracha ala chilas matzah.
Now, the person who has the Seder plate should take a piece of matzah from the top and the piece of matzah from the middle to eat now. But let me just define what the critical minimum of the mitzvah is. Talking about volume, someone asked a question about 90 mil. We have another volume for food which is called kazayit. And it's going to sound funny because it sounds like a very small thing, but it's the size of an olive. It's actually a bigger olive, as the Talmud discusses. It's a separate discussion exactly what that means in terms of volume and how that works today. Let's keep it simple. For the mitzvah of matzah, there are different opinions, but the mitzvah of matzah is a biblical mitzvah, so you want to be a bit stricter. If you're using a hand-baked matzah, shmura matzah, it's about a third of a matzah. About that amount, roughly, right? A third of a matzah. Every person around the table should get a third of a hand-baked matzah. If you're having a machine matzah, by the way, it's about 2/3 because it's made differently. It's thinner and it's shaped differently. It's about 2/3 of a machine matzah, or a third of a hand-baked matzah. After we make the two blessings, everyone should eat should eat this kazayit of matzah. Shouldn't talk in the middle. And eat it quickly. It should be finished within about 6 minutes. Not that hard, about 6 minutes. That's leaning. Men should lean when they eat it, correct? And it should be done eating about 6 minutes. That is how you do the mitzvah. If you just have a nibble, it's nice and doesn't even taste that good anyway, and it's not the mitzvah. So please try and have a big piece, meaning like a third of a hand-baked matzah, Everyone should get a third of a hand-baked matzah. If you need shmura matzah, please contact me. And eat the matzah within 6 minutes, and that's the mitzvah of eating matzah. I should point out that some people, they're off carbs and they don't want to eat wheat. There is a concept called spelt matzah. There is even, it's hard to get, but there is around some shmura oat matzah. It's also good. Tastes horrible apparently, but it is good. And it's good for those people who are gluten intolerant. I know that technically in Australia, oats is still part of, but it actually doesn't have gluten. And you have to ask your doctor, it could be that's okay, just eat a kazait of oat matzah. Now, I want to point out something very important. There are people that can't handle matzah. They can handle a bit, but they can't handle a lot of matzah. Don't forget, we're going to eat matzah again during the meal. We're going to eat matzah when we have a matzah sandwich. And of course, we're going to eat matzah when we eat the afikoman. However, there are people that are, every year I have this question, there are people that really can handle a kazait matzah, but not more. So if you can only eat one kazait during the night, that's fine, that's good. That's still a mitzvah. But if that's the case, don't eat it now. Don't wash now and don't eat it now. Eat your meal, eat the lettuce, eat your chicken soup. Those who, the knedlach is a very critical part of the Seder. Enjoy it. Oh man, you want to eat knedlach if you can't handle wheat. But anyway, you'll eat soup, you'll eat chicken, whatever. And then when everyone eats the afikoman, then you go and wash, and then you have your third of your hand-baked matzah, and you eat it then, and you make the two blessings then of Hamatzi.
That's to clarify, only if you can handle only one kazait.
Yeah. Okay, yes, I'm going to explain how we eat the other matzahs also. But that's the bracha of eating matzah. So this is a critical part of the Seder. It's one of the two biblical mitzvot. Everyone should eat one kazait of matzah.
Just to point out that the Zohar says that this is very important for this year, that matzah actually has two spiritual powers. Power of faith, it actually injects faith into the person which eats it, and also has the power of healing. I think we can do with a bit of both of that this year. Faith that's going to be good, and of course healing. Everyone should be well and healthy. We're good?
We're doing moro now. Okay. That's the mitzvah of eating matzah. Now, next mitzvah, one of the rabbinic mitzvahs of Pesach night, after we finish the matzah, we now eat maror. We take the top one. Now again, maror, actually the Talmud says that there's 5 kinds of vegetables which qualify for maror. We're not actually sure what they are, but we're sure of 2. Lettuce, preferably cost lettuce, and horseradish. The combination of both needs to be a kazait. You don't have to have horseradish. It could be just lettuce, it's also fine. But it needs to be a big piece. The basic idea is to be a big piece. Normally the cost lettuce comes in big pieces. I would say like a big cost piece of lettuce, a piece and a half. It should cover roughly about 3/4 of a A4 page. I think that's more or less how it works. I measured it out once. But a big piece of lettuce, add a bit of horseradish also. They combine for the measurement. So together it has to be a kazait. Together means the olive measurement. And we eat it. Now, what we do with the maror is we dip it into the charoset. Now again, each person around the table should get this big piece of lettuce and a bit of horseradish. Can't all come from the Seder plate because it won't be enough. Doesn't matter. Each person gets a bundle. Dip it into the charoset. Make a special bracha on the mitzvah of maror, which is in the middle of page 50. Baruch atah Hashem, asher shalom v'tzitav v'tzivanu, ala achilat maror. And then you eat this...
Not leaning.
Not leaning, that's correct. Dip it in the charoset and we eat it not leaning. We don't lean when we eat maror because maror is a symbol of the slavery, not freedom. We lean because it's freedom. But this is not a symbol of freedom. Thank you for reminding me that. Okay. After the maror, now again, not everyone can handle this. So if you can't handle it, don't worry about the next part.
Put that one away.
But if you can handle it, it's a good thing to do. Because in the time of the temple, they used to eat maror together with matzah and together with the paschal lamb.
Like the modern day shawarma.
Yeah, kind of a shawarma, because they had soft matzah those days. That's good. Nowadays, there is an opinion which says we should do it like that. Obviously, we don't have the paschal lamb, but we should fulfill the mitzvah of maror by doing it in a sandwich together with matzah. So, same idea,
This is koyrich, by the way, on page 50. The bottom on page 50.
The matzah sandwich, right. So, same idea. Now, this, if you're having a Seder plate, we take the bottom matzah. So, and let me explain something very important. For this, we don't need so much. For this, we can be a bit more lenient. You can take like 1/4 of a matzah. 1/4 of a hand-baked matzah, right? So, a little bit together, I'm talking about both pieces, right? Make your sandwich. Maror
So it's 2/4 or
no, 1/4.
Together 1/4.
Split in two. You can do a little bit less. Dip it in charoset. You say the paragraph where you remember how Hillel used to eat the matzah and the maror and the paschal lamb together, and then we eat it, and this time we do lean, because it's got to do with the matzah, and the matzah has got to do with freedom. Okay? We eat this, again, if you can't handle that much, and you're only going to do some, don't eat a nibble of lettuce now and a nibble of lettuce with a sandwich. Just eat one time the lettuce properly, and don't worry about the sandwich if you can't handle it. But do the mitzvah. If you can do it, of course, it's a good thing to do.
We had a question before.
Yeah, let's go back to a question.
When you split
The wine.
does it have to be? What do we do with the wine once we've poured it out?
Oh, very important.
And also, can it be into any vessel, or does it actually?
Okay, so the wine that we... Sorry? Yeah. The question was, just going back to the 10 plagues, when we pour out the wine by the 10 plagues, what do we do with the wine that we poured out? And also, what kind of vessels they have to be? Now, there are those, Kabbalistically, the wine that we pour out by the plagues are considered symbolic of the negativity, the negative energy. So therefore, because of that, some people they split it specifically into a broken vessel, a little bit, a cracked vessel, or at least a cheap vessel, right? Others just do it into their plate, under the becher, that's all good. However, that wine should not be drunk. That wine represents the negative energy, it should be thrown away. Spill that into the sink. Yeah? Is that clear?
Disposed of.
Disposed of, and then, again, as I said before, you refill the cup. Okay, so that's the matzah sandwich. Again, all these things should be eaten within 6 minutes to do the mitzvah properly, and that is that part. So we've done the mitzvah, we've done the first 2 cups of wine, we fulfilled the mitzvah of matzah, we fulfilled the mitzvah of maror. The extra part is with the matzah sandwich. If you can't handle that, that's less critical, but the maror is important. And then, finally, we've arrived.
We've come to the meal.
Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch, by the way, is part of the Seder. It shouldn't be like, now we finished the Seder. No. Eating the meal is a part of the Seder. And it's part of the Seder because we show how we're free, we're celebrating, it's part of the celebration.
And if you want to eat the egg, now would probably be the best thing to do.
Now's the time we eat the egg. Again, the egg is a custom. We peel the egg if it's not peeled already. Most people dip it into salt water. The South African minhag is to chop it up in salt water, make like a soup. Yeah, Yaakov, you've done the minhag, yeah. And eat it that way. I often around my side of the table, people say, no, I can't anymore. I can't have an egg now as well. But some people love the egg, so optional, really optional. You need to have it on the Seder table, but you don't have to eat it. Custom, eat it, no problem. I always do eat it, but go for it. If you like it, eat the egg now. That's a good time to do it. And then, us Jews are really nuts. We've eaten matzah twice. We've had a salad, because we've eaten lettuce, big piece of lettuce. We've eaten an egg, which for most people that's considered a meal, and then we eat a whole meal. That's really good.
That's very Jewish.
Because, when we celebrate, we always have to eat. So we eat fish, we eat soup, we eat... Don't eat too much because you have to be full but not overfull. You need to leave a little bit of place for the afikoman. Yeah, we doing well?
Yeah. Any more questions? We're good?
We're good, Stefan?
We're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Now, since we bashed the egg a bit, I think I need to say a little word on the egg.
That's right. I think that's a good idea.
Okay. So we'll do a quick insight for the egg and then we're going to finish off the rest of the Seder. So, an egg is this is a thought from one of my ancestors called the Ishbitzer Rebbe. This is a very beautiful idea. An egg is a really interesting food. Why? Because it's a food that when an egg is laid, it's perfect, meaning it's usable. You can fry an egg, you can make a hard-boiled egg, you can eat it. On the other hand, it's incomplete. The definition of an egg is for it to hatch into something else, right? To grow into a chicken. So an egg is something that on one hand, can be appreciated as is. On the other hand, it leaves room for something else. Interesting food. He says that's how we celebrate the exodus from Egypt. Because when we become free, when we experience our own freedom, when we take the next step out of our comfort zone and do one more mitzvah or become a better person, whatever the case is, that's an egg. It's to be appreciated and to be celebrated. It's really good. However, we need to remember that's not complete. We need to still grow more into the chicken, the next stage. Yep. Until we keep growing, until we reach the final destination, which will be, as he explains, with the coming of Mashiach, will be the ultimate freedom. We're doing well?
We're good. Now we come to the afikoman.
Oh, okay. So at the end of the Seder, now we're now finished with the meal. We should drink now, whatever you want to drink, juice, whatever the case is, because After we eat Afikoman, we're not really supposed to eat anymore, except for the 2 cups of wine. And we come to the place called, the part of the Seder called Tzafun.
Page 52.
Page 52, thank you. Tzafun, which is called hidden, where we uncover the Afikoman. Some people have to pay a lot of money for this. I'll tell you a little cute little personal story. In Chabad, the custom is not to hide the Afikoman, we just put it between 2 cushions. And when I was growing up, all my friends were not Chabad, and they all got presents because they were able to demand a ransom for the Afikoman. And I kind of came with complaints. So my father, of blessed memory, started a custom that he would ask us a question on the first night of the Seder, and we'd have to research it the next 24 hours, we have to come up with the answer, and if we came with the answer, he'd buy us a present, so we still got Afikoman presents. How's that? Okay. Tzafun, we take the Afikoman, we give each person, again, for this we're going to be a bit more lenient. We're going to have a quarter of a hand matzah, or a third of a machine matzah. It doesn't have to be a full third. Only the one time it has to be like that. We can be a bit more lenient. We can make sure everyone has a piece. Some people have 2 kazeti, which means like 2 quarters or half a matzah.
That's if you're really brave.
That's if you're brave. The reason for that is because we are actually remembering 2 things. Remembering the eating of the Paschal lamb, and we're remembering the matzah that was eaten with the Paschal lamb. So that's why we have 2. Not critical. 1 kazait is good. We eat the afikoman. Everyone eats the afikoman. The men lean when we eat the afikoman, and that's how we do the concept of tzafun. We don't eat or drink after this until the next day. One of the ideas is because the tzafun is the emunah, the faith, and we want the faith to remain with us and not to go away. So halachically, so the question was, can you have a glass of water afterwards? Halachically, you could drink water. Some have a custom not even to drink water, only 2 cups of wine. So drink water before. Some have a custom to not drink water even until the next morning, until the sun comes up.
We're good.
Okay.
Now we bench.
Now, before we bench, we've got to fill up the 3rd cup of wine. The 3rd cup of wine is for everyone has a 3rd cup of wine, and we do beirach. Beirach is benching. So we bench. Again, we're benching on the cup of wine. Actually, we're supposed to, when we bench, we should, it's not critical if you don't, but we should actually lift up the cup, at least for the first 3 blessings of benching until we get, benching by the way is on 54, until we get to Bonei Berachama V'Yushlaim Amen, and then we finish the benching. After benching, as you can see on
Page 62,
we make again the bracha on the wine, Barei Pri Agafen, and drink it again, a bit more than half. It can be grape juice if you can't handle wine. As we said before, lean, and that's the 3rd cup of wine. And then we come to a beautiful part of the Seder where we open up the door for Eliyahu Hanavi. But before we do that, we didn't bring a special one here, but we have another cup of...
We forgot to pour the cup for Eliyahu Hanavi.
Yeah, some do not mention it.
Okay.
So what we do now, we open up the door. Why do we open up the door? A few reasons. First of all, what we do now is we fill up the 4th cup of wine, plus we put an additional cup in the middle of the table. Some people are accustomed to make it a big cup. It's called the cup of Eliyahu Hanavi. We fill up the cup because we have a tradition. Eliyahu Hanavi comes. What was that meme going around now? Eliyahu Hanavi comes to every Seder, and I saw a meme today that he's going to have to go to millions of Sedarim this year because lots of Seders are now broken up. So he's an extra.
I hope he has a good mask.
He has to work extra hard. And he comes to all the Seder. Actually, Kabbalah explains that's really the spark, the spiritual part of the Neshama comes when he comes.
He doesn't worry about
So it's not a problem with space or viruses or anything like that. Yeah? Only two people.
We're not, God forbid, joking about the rules. Everyone should definitely keep the rules. We're just trying to bring some humor into it as well.
That's right, exactly. We open the door. One of the reasons we open the door is to let Eliyahu Hanavi in, but the other reason is because the night of Pesach is called Leil Shimurim, the night of protection. And to demonstrate that we open the door, to demonstrate that we're not so afraid, we can open the door and we know that God is protecting us this night more than other nights. I mean, He always protects us, but tonight is a special level of protection. And we say it's considered a very special time of the Seder. In fact, it's a time we are told all doors are open. Once we open the door, all the doors of heaven are open. And it's time we can ask for things, especially we can ask to be successful in spiritual growth, to be more spiritually sensitive, to be able to grow and overcome the challenges and difficulties that stand in the way of spiritual growth.
Right? When the door is open, you say that paragraph, Shvach HaMasach.
So we ask God to pour his wrath upon the nations that persecute us and have always stood in our way, and to pave the way for proper redemption. Some people go to the door, whoever opens the door goes with a candle, sort of as part of the honor of Levi and so on. That's what we do. And then we end off the Seder with Hallel. Hallel can be sung, it could be said, it could be done in Hebrew, it could be done in English. Again, if you're completely finished, and do some of Hallel at least, as much whatever you can. Obviously, the whole Hallel should be recited, but it's as much as you can. But it's a part of the Seder. Very important, of course. We keep going with Hallel, sing the songs of Hallel, page 64, goes all the way till
Page 76.
Page 76, and when you finish the blessing at the end of Hallel, we make again Borei Pri Hagefen, and we drink the 4th cup of wine to fulfill and complete the mitzvah of the 4 cups of wine. After that, we make an after bracha. Now, I should point out at this point, just because the Haggadah says we make the bracha after the wine, one person around the Seder table, an adult, should drink the whole cup if you just got a small cup. Because in order to fulfill the mitzvah of 4 cups, more than half is okay, but in order to make an after bracha, you need the whole cup. So that's why one person should do that and make the blessing. And then in many communities, after the 4th cup is drunk, all the mitzvahs have been done. We now believe that Hashem has accepted our Seder, and we follow with lots of different songs. We first of all proclaim the Shana Haba Yerushalayim, next to in Jerusalem. We hope that the full redemption should come, and we should be able to be in Jerusalem with the Beit HaMikdash. And then there's all different types of songs that people sing. Not critical, not part of the Seder, not part of the mitzvahs, but you sing them and go for it and celebrate and enjoy if you haven't yet fallen asleep. So that's the Seder in a nutshell.
Some people even say Shir Hashir.
Yeah, that's the special, the Song of Songs by King Solomon, because it alludes to the Exodus from Egypt, right? It talks about the relationship between God and the Jewish people, a very beautiful part of Tanakh, and that's the Seder in a nutshell. I hope that was useful. I want to just summarize 1 or 2 things here. Any more questions, Jacob? No, we're good?
I think about our post.
Okay. Just want to summarize. So again, that was the Seder in a nutshell, and the idea is like this. The idea, obviously, I covered some of the laws, we shared a few insights, but the truth is that you can insert into the Haggadah as much insights as you want, discuss, ask, challenge each other, and talk about it. But remember, the Seder, the main part of the Seder is accomplished by the mitzvot. So if nothing else, drink 4 cups of wine along the 4 parts of the Seder, eat a kazait of matzah, eat a big piece of matzah, 1/3 of a hand-baked matzah, or a 2/3 of a machine matzah, shmura matzah. There must be shmura matzah the first night and second night. Eat it quickly, eat it within 6 minutes, fulfill the mitzvah. Eat maror, eat a big piece of lettuce mixed with a bit of horseradish, or without horseradish, but eat a big piece of lettuce, 4 cups of wine, the matzah, and say parts of the Haggadah, at least the critical parts that we said. Manishtana, the part right after Manishtana, the 3 things of Pesach, matzah, and maror, the explanation. Say some Hallel before they drink the 4th cup of wine, and connect to the mitzvot, the beautiful mitzvot of the Seder night. And the main thing is to remember that one line, that every generation we have to see ourselves as if we are going out of Egypt, and to really try and experience freedom. This year we have an added opportunity, because this year we need to really be free. We have to discover that internal freedom, not to be defined by the circumstances around us, but to be truly free to serve God, to choose the right of our own, to be a good person, to connect with others, even if not physically, but virtually, and to really connect with our faith and strength with God. And God will, without a doubt, He will accept our Seder, He will receive our Seder, He will really cherish the mitzvahs that we do and the Seder that we conduct, and hopefully bring about the ultimate redemption, which will take place very, very soon. We have another question.
Why do you have to drink at least half a cup of wine each time?
First of all, at least more than half.
Just a bit more than half, that's right. Because it's called, again, so the question was, why each time we drink the cup do we have to drink a bit more than half? The reason is because when we do a mitzvah of eating and drinking, it's only considered eating or drinking if we drink a certain measurement. So, in order to be considered a cup of wine, because we bless God over a cup of wine. In order to be considered a cup of wine, it's got to contain a revit. A revit means the quarter of a lug, as I said before, 90 ml. In order to be considered drinking, otherwise not really considered drinking, meaning it's considered tasting. There's a difference between tasting and drinking. In order to be considered that we drank 4 cups of wine, the shiur, the measurement in the Talmud is called melol lugmav, which means a cheekful. Now, it depends from person to person, but roughly, a cheekful is just a bit more than a revi, half a revit, which is, that's why I said a bit more than half the cup. And the custom is, even if you have a bigger cup, to drink half the cup anyway, but that's why we drink a bit more than half the cup. That's the concept that it's based on.
What happens if your children can't stay awake till he's
Yeah.
getting to months?
How young are the children?
That's 6, 7.
So children can't stay awake, so it's really good to get them to stay awake, at least for the manishtana. That's why it's important. It says in the Code of Jewish Law to start the Seder as soon as possible, at least to get
Which
them
this year you don't even have an excuse that you came late from shul because we're
Exactly.
going to shul, so
That's right.
you can start it.
So exactly. So you get them at least to ask the manishtana. A little bit explain to them the story, and I'm sure they've got stuff to show you and to ask you and this thing. And then if they're going to fall asleep, give them matzah early. Right? I know when my kids were very little, they always were very strict. They ended up drinking more than 4 cups of grape juice. Grape juice, not one. Because they sometimes decided that each few minutes they wanted another cup of grape juice, which was fine with a little. But, they can drink 4 cups of grape juice out of the order, and the main thing is to get them to eat matzah before they fall asleep. So if you see they're tired or they're very young and they're going to fall asleep, engage with them, focus on them.
And it should be a good experience for them, shouldn't it be?
Right, right. Never force them, never think. But the first part of the Seder, at least really focus on them, get them to ask the questions, get them to sing songs. You can even sing a song from later on in the Haggadah if they're going to fall asleep. Just, you can mix up the songs, doesn't matter. And get them to at least eat matzah and then, drink grape juice or drink wine, whatever they can do, and then let them fall asleep.
What should you do with the cost of Eliyahu after you said that?
Oh, very good question. The question was, what do you do with the cup of Eliyahu Hanavi after the Seder is finished? So actually, it should be poured back into the bottle. But actually, it's not just about pouring back into the bottle so you don't waste it. There's a very deep symbolism behind that. In fact, I'll just share with you. Interestingly, my father told me when he was a student in yeshiva, in those days, when the Lubavitcher Rebbe would conduct his Seder, he would do it with a minyan, 10 men, and the Bachrim, the students, were able to come after they finished their Seder, which they would make pretty quickly, I think. They would come and watch the Rebbe conduct the Seder. After the Seder, the Kosh Eliyahu, the Rebbe himself, would take the bottle of wine, he would take the cup, and he would pour first a bit of the bottle into the cup, and then a whole sort of order, and he would pour the cup of wine back into the bottle, and while they were doing it, they would sing. And the Rebbe was very serious when they were doing it, and they could see it was considered a very special time. Many years later, the Rebbe actually spoke about it and explained why such a deep thing. Because the 5th cup of wine, we drink 4 cups of wine. The cup of Eliyahu Hanavi is like the 5th level. It's like a very deep level of the neshama. It's what we call the pintelayid. It's like the real essence of the faith of the Jewish person. And the idea is that the Seder shouldn't finish. We have to take it with us. The idea of taking the cup of Eliyahu Hanavi and pouring it back into the bottle represents what we're going to drink tomorrow, what we're going to drink on a regular day. It's like the bottle which we just use every day. We bring that holiness of the Seder into the bottle, into what we're going to do in the normal routine of every single day.
Good?
That's another question.
That's good.
Thank you everyone for watching. Wishing everyone a good Pesach, a meaningful Pesach.
And as we say, Chag Kasher V'Sameach, it should be a kosher Pesach, we should be able to do our best. God should really recognize and appreciate and love our efforts of Pesach, which He will, and we should be Sameach, which should be a happy Pesach. We should celebrate, even though things are a little bit different this year. We need to celebrate as much as we can, give it a lot of power and energy and positivity, and God will accept our Seder and take us out of Golos.
Thanks everyone. Have a wonderful night.